So 2022 was an absolute turnaround in the world of film after grappling with struggles and attracting people to the movies post-pandemic. I thought that this year was a better movie year by far than 2021, especially in the horror movie department. It felt like a lot of unique movies came out this year, and then we had those occasional blockbusters as well that came out this year. So here are my top 10 movies that I saw in theaters this year that I really enjoyed. So number 10 on my list of movies that I really enjoyed watching this year was The Woman King. Actually very intrigued with The Woman King movie when I first saw the trailer because I honestly didn't know what to expect. The movie generally centers around women warriors of the Dahomey tribe in West Africa. The lead general, Niska, played by Viola Davis, is tasked to liberate women who have been kidnapped by the rivaling tribes in the Oyo Empire. The Oyo Empire in this movie is depicted to have a slave trade relations and business relations with the European colonizers, as well as a stronghold of the Dahomey tribe in terms of influence, resources, and power. So Niska is tasked with training a new generation of women warriors to go against the Oyo, including what is revealed to be her daughter, whose name is Nawi, who she abandoned early in her life for her safety. Even though a lot of context in this movie is very questionable, including the real history of the tribes and the depictions of the events that occurred in this movie, is a very well executed movie. Viola Davis and Tusu Mbedu knocked it out the park, but I honestly think that my favorite character in this movie, my favorite actress in this movie, has to be Lashana Lynch's performance. Her supporting character as Igoje, who is basically portrayed as a mentor to Nawi in the movie, knocked it out the park. I thought Lashana Lynch did an amazing job as Igoje. So for number 9 on my list of movies I really enjoyed watching this year, I have to put Don't Worry Darling on this list. So if you know me, my favorite genre is psychological thriller. So once I found out that this movie was going to be a psychological thriller based on dystopian society, I immediately jumped to see this movie. This movie unfortunately had a lot of drama behind the scenes, which is disappointing because it kind of overshadowed the movie itself. The movie mirrors a dystopian society, a dystopian town by the name of Victory, California, where it shadows 1950 post-war America. It's interesting that this town is named Victory, as, you know, post-war America, World War II, Victory, America, you know, you get it. So the men go to work every day at the Victory headquarters while the women stay home and cook and clean. And the story centers around Alice and Jack Chambers, played by Florence Pugh and Harry Styles, who are residents following the norm of this dystopian society. So the women in Victory are kept in the dark about the specifics that are going on in the town, of what the men do specifically at their jobs, and they can't investigate or go beyond the town limits or go to the headquarters at all. So Alice starts having these dreams and hallucinations and takes that as a sign that she needs to go investigate what the town is really about, especially after she sees a airplane crash that occurs, coming to find out that Victory is a whole simulated program that Jack paid for, which he forces Alice to participate in. They were going through a lot of miserable issues in the real world. Alice and Jack are actually a real world couple. Jack bought into a program that allowed them to live this simulated life in post 1950s America. I thought the plot twist and finding out that of this whole debacle with the simulation was brilliantly executed, and my only criticism is that I wish that the movie would have gone into the backstory of how this virtual society was even created. All in all, I thought this film was really enjoyable. I don't know if this is Harry Styles' acting debut or if for a big film, or if he's a star, if this is his star debut in a big film, but I thought that he did an incredible job. I thought the cast did an incredible job. Number 8 on films that I enjoyed seeing this year was The Menu. Ever since the trailer and the movie poster came out, I was hooked into this movie and I need to see it ASAP. A movie with Anna Taylor-Joy, Ralph Fiennes, Janet McTeer, Judith Light, John Leguizamo, and more. That ensemble cast itself called for me to go see this movie. I did not think this movie could disappoint with that ensemble cast, and it did not. I loved everything about this movie. I got to see this movie in exclusive access before it came out and to the general public, and the whole theater was just so invested into the movie. It was really great. Everybody was laughing. Everybody was shocked. The plot twists were just out of this world. It was really cool. This movie was the epitome of uniqueness when it came to producing a horror movie with hints of dark humor and gore. I thought that this movie just doesn't only have horror, even though that's kind of like the main foundation of the movie. It does have like some dark humor, dark comedy, and gore in the movie as well. Essentially, this movie tells a story of a young couple who travels to this exclusive island restaurant owned by this world-renowned chef named Julian Slovic. Among the guests that attend this world-renowned restaurant are a food critic, some young businessmen, a movie star, and the chef's mother, among others. And they get served many course dishes, and throughout every dish that gets served is this weird, unsettling story behind the dishes, and things take a turn for the worse. The backstories to each of these dishes had the whole theater just laughing like crazy. So I really, really dig this movie. I thought this movie was great, and it got a lot of positive reviews. I was raving about this movie, imploring people to go see it before it came out. I'm glad that it got the positive reviews that it got, because this movie is absolutely fantastic. So that is the menu. I enjoyed really seeing them. Number 7 on movies that I enjoyed watching this year was Barbarian. And Barbarian is another movie that was really unique in terms of presentation, as it just incorporated different scenarios from different characters' point of views that were in the movie. And it tells basically an overarching story of a barbarian monster who her subjects refer to as Mother. All in all, this story was wild, and the movie previews just was a facet into what they did and how they branched out from that. The main character name's Tess Marshall, and she books an Airbnb in this relatively sus neighborhood in Detroit. The house that she ends up booking is also already booked by this man named Keith, and he books it through another booking agency, and they end up booking this Airbnb at the same time. I loved how they presented that exchange between Keith and Tess. It was just so eerily creepy. Keith offers Tess to stay the night because there's no other bookings around. Tess really needs to go to this interview because she's looking for a job, and then Tess ends up going to this interview and is told that the neighborhood that she's staying in was not a good neighborhood at all, and that was really, really bad. The movie goes on to do these unfortunate events where she ends up getting stuck in the creepy ass basement. Then we kind of cut into another point of view, one of a famous actor who recently gets fired from a film due to rape allegations, and he actually owns this house. So he gets fired from this film. He is losing a lot of money because of the rape allegations and needs to sell this house, and he wants to sell the property. Coming to realize that the OG owner of this property is actually a person that used to abduct women in the same house. The famous actor ends up getting trapped in this house. It just ends up being wild and a ridiculous story. I really enjoyed this movie. It kind of reminds me of Black Mirror. If you really enjoyed Black Mirror, then you will enjoy Barbarian. This movie is really great. So number 6 on movies that I really enjoyed watching this year, I have to put Scream 5. Now, I know there's all this Jenna Ortega hype and stuff like that, but if you really like Jenna Ortega, you will definitely like her performance in Scream. This movie is definitely a W for me, and many can complain that this movie wasn't as thrilling or as scary as the originals, but I enjoyed it from a movie standpoint. I really sat there for 60% of the movie thinking that one of the characters was the killer. I think that a lot of people that really enjoyed the Scream movies will enjoy kind of like this new sequel take. Basically, this movie is set 25 years after the events of the original Scream movie, after Billy and Stu and all that. Tara, who's played by Jenna Ortega, is shown in the opening moments of the movie having this weird call with Ghostface, and they're playing like this game show like game over the phone where if Tara doesn't answer the questions correctly, she gets killed. Tara, I thought, would have been dead at this point, but she survives and is hospitalized. So Tara's older sister Sam, played by Melissa Barrera, comes into town to look over her sister. It then goes into these events where they're suspecting each other, and disaster ends up at the Halloween party they end up throwing, and also love the subtle shade they throw to the Halloween movie franchise. If you really enjoyed the original Scream movies, I think you would enjoy this movie. Scream 6 is also coming out, which I'm really excited for. I thought this was a good call to the original Scream movies, and I'm glad they're continuing the series. Number 5 for movies I really enjoyed watching this year is Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman. I came into this movie strictly thinking that it was going to be centered on the memory of T'Challa. Glad that they were able to kind of craft the story and not just center it all on just being a tribute movie. On the heels of T'Challa passing, Wakanda now has to move forward and maintain its standing in the world as being one of the exclusive sources for vibranium. So the United States government, the CIA, and Navy SEALs believe that they have discovered vibranium outside of Wakanda, which they have been constructing and testing out machines to kind of pull this vibranium out. And Princess Shuri, who's usually against like tradition and more focused on technology and advancement, has to cope with losing her brother and helping Wakanda move forward alongside her mother, Queen Ramonda. And they get a visit from Namor, who's the leader of the Talokan underwater kingdom, also rich with vibranium. It's this rich kingdom, and I love how the kingdom is presented in the movie when Namor shows Shuri around. It's just, I love that scene. Talokan will soon be under great threat from the world once the US discovers and scouts vibranium and gives the Wakandan people an ultimatum to either join the Talokan to take out the threats now before the government ends up successfully building a machine that will extract the vibranium and kill the scientist, or he'll destroy Wakanda. So I thought this movie was not only a great segue into the upcoming storyline featuring wars over vibranium, but I also thought it served as a great memorial to Chadwick Boseman. My favorite aspects of this movie were the way they presented Shuri. Like, Letitia Wright really nailed it in terms of showcasing Shuri's emotions of anger, revenge, and sadness and grief. And it tells a lot about her character during the grieving process. It really humanized Shuri. Number 4 on movies that I enjoyed watching this year, Top Gun Maverick. Now, I've literally been dying to see this movie all year because everybody has been recommending this movie to me. Things came up and I wasn't able to see it, but I'm glad that it re-released in theaters in November, so I was finally able to see this movie. And from all the hype that was surrounding this movie ever since it released, this movie is 100% worth it. I kind of always stray from military, not always, but I kind of stray from military movies or military themed movies just because they kind of have like the same or similar plot. Top Gun Maverick just hits different. Basically, this movie is about a decorated Top Gun Navy pilot, Pete Mitchell, who they call Maverick. And after 30 years of him serving as a Navy pilot, he's tasked with leading some of the most elite Top Gun fighter graduates complete this near to impossible mission to destroy an Iranian bunker. The movie is an actual sequel to the original Top Gun movie that came out in 1986 without doing too much in terms being that stereotypical military movie. Tom Cruise's role in this movie really showcased that emotion he had as Pete Mitchell, leading these students into achieving this unattainable task. Number 3 on movies that I really enjoyed watching this year, I'd have to put The Batman on my list. When Robert Pattinson got first announced, there were a lot of mixed reviews about that, but more so, I think there was this weird buzz of curiosity. I think that this Batman movie showcases more of the authentic Batman character than most films do, especially in this day and age of the bigger DCEU films like Wonder Woman and Superman. This is authentic Batman in the flesh as a detective movie more than this anti-hero persona, which actually the seeds for it get planted gradually as the movie goes on. So this movie is about Gotham City Mayor Don Mitchell getting killed on Halloween, and he gets killed by the Riddler, and it's Bruce Wayne's job to solve the case and figure out who killed Don Mitchell Jr., who killed the mayor. So Bruce Wayne collaborates with the Gotham City Police Force to solve the murder of Don Mitchell. Riddler ends up taunting Batman throughout this movie and is discovered to have an immense grudge rivalry with the Wayne family. Riddler has like this cult following online that aims to celebrate this anti-billionaire, anti-government stance of killing elected officials in the name of corruption. We needed a movie that really showcased Batman's original character as a detective. Robert Pattinson, I thought, did an amazing job as Batman. I think people can criticize, people will go off. I know people are just so nostalgia heavy sometimes, and I know people love Ben Affleck, but I thought Robert Pattinson knocked it out the park as Batman. Very on point with the social cues and the eye contact that he makes, and I thought that it was just a brilliant performance. For number 2, I put Avatar 2 on my list. I saw this movie twice because I really wanted to see if the story would hold up out of all the hype of being this amazing visual imaging movie that comes out 13 years after the original, and if it would stand the test of time with major blockbusters releasing kind of every few months. Not only did the 3D visuals and the animation live up to par for the original, also recommend Dolby 3D for anyone interested in seeing this movie. Jake Sully, after warding off an invasion from the Sky People, becomes the chief of the Amatakaya tribe and is warding off an invasion from the Sky People and is tasked with protecting the clan against continuous threats from human beings. Human beings on Earth are trying to find this new home and they want to basically colonize Pandora. However, Quaritch and his crew, who actually turned into Na'vi people, has planned revenge on Jake Sully. Emotional turn as Drake has to transition from this chief warrior to being a father who's looking out for the best way to protect his family. Besides the Dolby 3D, besides the IMAX, besides the 3D, the story itself was just an amazing story. I don't want to spoil too much, but definitely go see Avatar 2. So before we go into my number 1 pick for the number 1 movie I enjoyed watching this year, I have some honorable mentions. First and foremost, to provide some context, this list was extremely hard to make because I'm condensing a whole year's worth of movie that I've seen and condensing it into 10. Thought about expanding it actually to 15 or to 20, but I was like, no. I'm gonna condense this into 10. Unfortunately, not all the movies that I really enjoyed got to make this list. One honorable mention is definitely The Invitation. I thought The Invitation was a great movie. I also enjoyed Till. I thought Till was a great movie, really showcasing the story of Emmett Till through his mother's point of view. Terrifier 2, with Terrifier 2, it's just a gore fest, but I actually enjoyed it. I thought it was a very different. I enjoyed Terrifier 2. Doctor Strange, Marvel didn't really hit it out the park for me in terms of blockbuster movies this year. There was Thor Love and Thunder, which I really didn't enjoy. I did enjoy Black Panther, but Doctor Strange was all okay. It was an okay movie. And so that was really all my honorable mentions that I had for this year. I mean, there's probably more that I'm missing. And Babylon. I thought Babylon was an enjoyable movie. My number one movie that I enjoyed watching in theaters this year. I have recommended a bunch of people to watch this movie. I've just told people to go see this movie. And that movie is Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. A phenomenal, spectacular movie. I think that movie is a gem. And it's interesting because that movie was kind of marketed as a small movie. Like, it didn't have that big of a budget. It was really raking in a lot of money. I think it was the most profitable movie this year. A movie that tackles Asian American identity. It also dives into like the multiverse and things like that. It is just a phenomenal movie. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once has such a star cast. Michelle Yeoh, Stephanie Sue, Jamie Lee Curtis, among others. Like this cast, I really enjoyed this movie. I rave about this movie all the time. That is my video. Those are the 10 movies that I enjoyed watching in 2022. Again, I enjoyed watching all these movies. I can't really rank them too much. It's kind of ranked, but not really. But I enjoyed watching all these movies in 2022. It was just a really unique year for movies. I'm really excited for 2023. I think 2023 is going to knock it out the park in terms of movies. Hopefully it rides on the momentum of 2022. Also, thank you all for tuning into this video. It means a whole lot. Every viewer, every subscriber that tunes in. I really enjoy watching movies. I have AMC A-List. I go to the movies all the time and I just love reviewing movies. Follow me on Instagram. I also post movie reviews on my Instagram. So I really want to continue this as well on my YouTube channel. So thank you all for tuning in. I really appreciate all the support that I've been getting on the channel. If you have any suggestions, if you have any movies that you'd like to list in the comments below, or any movie recommendations, feel free to list those recommendations. So thank you all for tuning in. Make sure you give a like on this video. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Turn on post notifications for any updates on any content that I will release on the channel. Thank you all for tuning in. Have a happy new year, and hopefully y'all 2022 went just as well, and hopefully looking forward to 2023. Peace.